What are some misconceptions about being divorced/remarried? One of the misconceptions I had is I'd listened to a lot of the red pill stuff online, so I figured, okay, I have a kid, I'm divorced, I'm going to have a very difficult time finding somebody because I have all this baggage. And it wasn't just that baggage, it's also my life's a bit dramatic, I work all the time, and I was hoping to find somebody who would help me with work. So I also needed to look for someone who was interested in helping me with working with somebody at home. So it was kind of a tricky niche to fill. I was either really lucky, I think that was part of it, I was really lucky, but it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. Having a kid and being divorced didn't actually hinder men's interest in me. And I've talked to other women who've been through something similar where they were divorced and have a little kid and were very worried about being devalued and not being able to be happy again with anyone, and they found it a lot easier too. So I would say if you're in that situation as a woman, make sure that you're valuable in other ways, right? I mean, having a kid, kids are amazing, right? So if you're dating someone and they're disgusted at the fact you have a kid, don't go out with that person. And if you're driven and you're smart and you're capable and you take care of yourself and all these other areas of life, then that, I think, overrides it. At least that's my experience. So that was a big misconception I had, because I probably stayed in a relationship I shouldn't have been in for longer, because I thought, if I don't want to be in this, I have to be prepared to be alone forever. So I kind of had to get to the point where I was like, being alone would be better. I'm okay with that. And once I got to the point where I was okay with being alone, I wasn't as anxious about it, and things just worked out beautifully. Okay, breast explant. So I haven't talked to you guys about this, but I had a boob job years ago, and I got them, I didn't have it in for very long. It was about a year and a half, and I got them taken out, partly because I was so sick from mold. I thought some of the symptoms were coming from the boob implants, and what I'm gonna do is actually a separate video on plastic surgery that's not part of this Q&A. I'm gonna put it out in the next month, so I'll address that there, and I'll just leave it at that. How did you deal with feeling sorry for yourself when your health was at its worst? So I probably had help from my parents, because I was told at a really young age, like when I got diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, I was in grade 2, and my dad told me never use this as an excuse. And so I think growing up, I knew I couldn't exactly feel sorry for myself. And for whatever reason, that included, but for whatever reason, I didn't really feel sorry for myself. I was just angry, really angry. So livid at not being able to play sports that other kids could. My thumb would get stuck in the bowling ball because I had like really thickened joints. And I didn't really feel sorry for myself. I was just lividly angry. So is that feeling sorry for yourself? I don't know, maybe kind of. But what I would say, as someone who's been chronically ill for way too long, is that you have to remember it's not useful. It doesn't actually get you out of the situation. So if you're laying in bed being like, why me? Which is a fair question when you have an autoimmune disorder and part of your body is deciding to die on you. You're like, oh, why me? Self-pity, and try to turn it into anger, because anger is more of a positive emotion. You can actually do something with it. Like get angry, get frustrated, and try to fix it. And when you're that sick, the likelihood that you're gonna go to a doctor and they're gonna fix you, from my experience, is 0. It just doesn't work. The medical system is broken. So do as much research as you can and try things, and just try them and try them and try them until they get better. You have to get into the mindset of, I will do anything to get better before I think you can get better. So a lot of the people that are drawn to the diet I'm on have tried everything for a very long time, like years and years. And at some point they switch into the mode of, I'm gonna try anything. And then they try the diet, because you really have to get to that point before you're willing to only eat meat, because nobody really wants to only eat meat. I don't know anyone who's just like, I'm gonna do this for fun forever. That being said, I did see this interview with, I think she was an 82-year-old woman on the carnivore diet by Dr. Anthony Chaffee. I hope I'm saying that right, Chaffee, who looked incredible. So she was a farmer and she ate mostly meat for 65 years. And she looks like, I would say like a 55-year-old, but she's 82. So I might get her on the podcast because that was pretty impressive. But instead of feeling sorry for yourself, get angry and try and fix the problem. And if you need to spend a day in bed moping about, you can do that from time to time. Watch some movies, try to get yourself out of that funk, but try to change that into anger and fix it. Because I think these health problems are fixable. Hey guys, brief interruption. I'd like to introduce you to Carnivore snacks if you don't already know them. These are what my parents live off of on tour. This is what Scarlett asks for in the mornings. These are so much better than chips. They're worth giving a shot. If you want to get skinny eating chips, these are the chips to eat. I like them because they're literally just beef and salt. So they fit in perfectly with my restrictive diet. But then I've tested them out on my normal friends too that eat normal people food, and they're a hit there too. So there's no additives, no seasonings, marinades, no sugar, just clean meat chips made in the US. They're offering a 15% discount using code MP15 at checkout. They're linked in the description at carnivoresnacks.com. That's SNAX.com. Code MP15 at checkout. Crunchy goodness, and the meat they use is from regenerative farms, so no environmentalists can logically come after you. Not that they're known for their logic. Enjoy the rest of this episode. See, here's another question. There were a couple of questions like, please talk about how you keep your face so beautiful. Of course, steaks, but also fillers, question mark. There's more to it than fillers, which I'm gonna update you guys on now that I'm doing more personal stuff very soon. But the key thing for me was making sure my diet was good because dying of autoimmunity is very unattractive. And so that was the main thing, but there are other things that I will tell you guys all about soon. Ooh, this is fun. Travel first, kids later, or have kids then travel. Trying to figure my life out, but does one plan this stuff? I don't know if somebody plans this stuff. I always had it in my head that I wanted to have kids early, and then that happened for me. And I have one, my best friend, she had kids when she was 28, which is early compared to the average person now. And I think it's better to have them early. One, because you don't risk as much. You don't risk not being able to have kids, which can really hit women in their mid-30s, sometimes earlier if they're not healthy. And that's a huge risk you don't want to take. And you have a long life to live. And so I think it's better to have kids sooner, even though having kids is really hard and it does dampen your ability to do things. Have kids and travel later. That's what I would do. That's what I'm doing. Although I'm traveling at the same time, but I'm in a position that I'm very grateful for that allows me to do that. How has the family adjusted to the move? Okay, so there were a couple of questions about Scarlett because she's had such a crazy life for a 6-year-old. Like, she was with me when we went to Russia with my dad. She was with me in Serbia with my dad. We've probably lived in a different place every 6 months for a number of factors, mostly my dad being sick and us hopping around the world trying to figure out who could help him. And she's had lots of different babysitters because I work so much. And rather than that turning her into this neurotic child, she's actually really stable. She's really stable. So I basically explained the mold situation and was like, because she got sick too. She had bronchitis almost all the time. Every time she'd get a cold, she'd get bronchitis. I was like, oh no, this is what used to happen to me as a kid. That's no good. She has tree allergies. She has all these allergies, even though I've been so careful with her diet, which I think is from mold. And so she was very excited when we moved, very excited when we got a new house, and we put her in an Acton school. And Acton is this type of education from, like, I think they do preschool all the way to grade 12 in different areas that isn't like the public system or even the private system in America. I'm a huge fan of it. It's not ideological. It teaches kids the Socratic method. They have discussions in class about what they're grateful for. And she's brought a couple of things home that I thought, okay, this is the right place. She's also she just started grade 1 a month ago, less, 2 weeks ago. She said, I have 5 friends. And I think when we were in Miami, she was at this bougie private school, and the people there were not my people exactly. Not that I have a type of person, but I don't think, maybe I do have a type of person. But she only had 2 friends that she liked because she said everybody in her class was kind of bratty, and they were. We went to a couple of birthday parties and they were bratty. And so the fact that she's made 5 friends in 2 weeks, she loves the school. And the school is so different from her old school. The old school looked like a university campus. It had this huge pool outside. I was blown away. I was like, this doesn't even exist in Canada. And this new school is in like the back of a building because it just started and it's not that big. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a change from her bougie private school. And she loves it. So she's done really well. There hasn't really been a transition period, honestly. And I'm feeling better. My husband's feeling better. So the family has adjusted very well. Remind us again, we can get through SSRI withdrawal. These doctors should be in jail. So just real quick, SSRI withdrawal does end. There are things you can do to mitigate it. It is horrible. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst things I've been through other than watching my dad try to get off of psych meds. Me actually getting off of them wasn't as bad as watching him because he had such a harder time. It was awful. But it does end. Your brain adapts to these psych meds, and then if you remove them rapidly, your brain's in withdrawal. You've like structurally changed your brain. You can see this on MRIs. So if you go to a doctor and they go, oh, that doesn't happen, get a new doctor. It happens. But that does heal. Your brain does heal. And a lot of the symptoms can be mitigated through diet. It seriously changed my life, the diet. That's why I went to the Lion Diet in the first place, was because I was having such terrible SSRI withdrawal. So use diet. I would recommend the Lion Diet or at least a ketogenic diet. But the ketogenic diet by itself wasn't good enough for me or my dad. And remember that it seems to be about 2 years of healing. The first year is significantly worse than the second year, and you can get through it 100%. And when you're through it, it'll be hard to imagine what it even felt like. So stay strong. Don't suddenly stop taking SSRIs or psych meds. Wean down very slowly and try to mitigate the side effects with diet. And not everybody gets these horrible withdrawal syndromes, but people who've been on them at high doses for a longer period of time are more prone to them. So just stay strong, get through it, stay alive. It ends. Things get better. How do you get your folic acid during pregnancy on carnivore diets to avoid neural tube defects? Okay, so I didn't supplement for a really long time on the carnivore diet. I've been doing it for 5.5 years, Lion Diet specifically. And my vitamins were all good until I moved into that Miami mold house. And then I was trying to see what was wrong with me. And I was like, diet doesn't seem to be helping as much anymore. What's going on? And I tested all my vitamins and they were almost all out of whack. And we tested my dad's vitamins and his were almost all normal, even though he's been on the diet for the same amount of time as me. So I think it was mold that did it. I started supplementing folate by injection. So there's a company, I'll link it. I don't remember what it's called, but I'll just link it, where you can order injectable folate. So if you have a sensitized immune system that doesn't tolerate oral folate or folic acid, like me, you can do it by injection. Anybody who's doing any type of diet, or even any random person who's not doing a diet, I would recommend doing vitamin testing and making sure that's all good and supplementing when you're not. So just how to get your folic acid during pregnancy, I would, just out of an abundance of caution, supplement. Now, a lot of people will be like, oh, eat more liver and do these things, but you want to take folate deficiency seriously, so I'd supplement. And I'm supplementing with injectable folate because my folate was very low, and it's hard to say what caused that. I'm sure part of it was mold, and who knows, maybe part of it was being on the diet for 5.5 years. But I just, for anyone, because these things are so new, for anyone doing any type of diet, monitor them, monitor the vitamins and supplement. Just make sure you don't react to the supplements, and if you do, try to find the injectable ones. And those work for anything that's not fat soluble. For the fat soluble ones, you actually need to inject them into a muscle, and so then I'd go in somewhere and get them injected. How was Pierce off camera? So I did Pierce Morgan, which was fun because you get to go to a studio and get like dressed up, and it's a studio, so that's fun. He was super polite and nice. There wasn't a lot more to that. He was super polite and nice to me, so that was really fun. I was very grateful to be on there. Biggest motivator to stay disciplined. My biggest motivator to stay disciplined is to really envision what I want. So say for working on Peterson Academy and pushing that forward, I'm, visualizing the platform and what that looks like, and then just working towards that. So I think if you're not motivated, you probably don't have a well-visualized end goal. So really think about what your end goal is, whether that's for health, say you want to get fit, like picture yourself like that, and then just keep working towards it. Or if you have some sort of autoimmune disorder or chronic disease, really try to believe you can get better, because I believe you can get better. I don't think bodies are just made to be broken. They're reacting to something, and you have to figure out what that something is, whether it's the environment, like issues from mold or from growing up around mold when you were a kid, leaky gut from what you're eating or from too many antibiotics as a kid. Addressing all those things, just picture yourself healthy, believe that. Like I don't believe in manifesting, I'm not a manifester person, but having a goal, a well-visualized goal really helps with motivation. You have to really want it. Like you're not gonna be motivated to do something unless you really want it. And if you're working on something you don't really want, you should probably find something else to work on. What do you think about functional medicine? Anybody who needs a doctor, I would say, go to a functional doctor, functional medicine doctor. They're gonna have experience from the more mainstream medical side, and they're gonna look at what naturopaths are looking at. So I'd say functional doctor is the way you wanna go if you need a doctor. A piece of advice you'd give your younger self. So a couple, one, stop eating garbage. It's impacting you way more than you think. It's impacting your ability to sleep. It's giving you chronic fatigue. It's making you depressed. It's changing your reality. It's making you gain weight. Stop eating foods that are bad for you, which means processed foods in general, and probably grains and dairy. That would be my number one piece of advice. My second piece of advice would be, if you're trying really hard at something and it's not working out and it feels like everything you're doing isn't working, maybe it's not working, right? Maybe those are universal signs, or signs from God that this isn't the path you should be taking. And I guess the third piece of advice would be, if you're having a really hard time, have faith that you can get through it and that it's going to end, and that difficult time is going to teach you something that's so valuable that the difficult time will be worth going through. Now when bad things happen, so when I got quite ill from mold and it was scary because I didn't have an internal dialogue, and I started to literally not be able to think enough to answer emails in my inbox, which is scary. I was too weak to go upstairs in Miami, which was crazy. So Jordan was helping me go upstairs, and I was like, I have no energy in any of my muscles. It feels like I've been working out,
that's like an
but I haven't been working
problem,
out.
I think.
When that kind of thing happens to me, because bad things are going to happen, even if you have your life organized, have faith that you've gotten through bad things before, you can get through this one, that things will get better, and that this is just a period of, almost think about it like a test. That's what I do now, is I go, okay, there's something here that I need to learn, and I believe that. So there's something here that I need to learn. I really hope it doesn't take me 2 years to learn it. I hope this is more of a 3 to 6 month process, and that you'll come out on the other side wiser and stronger, maybe humbler. So yes, those are my 3 pieces of advice. What's your skincare regimen? Okay, so I'm gonna just stick this in the plastic surgery episode because there's lasers involved and there's a lot of things involved. My main skincare regimen was fixing my diet because my skin was a mess before diet. I really mean a mess. And diet basically fixed it. I wasn't using any skincare products. I was glowing. Then I moved back into the Miami house and like my skin died again. Even though my diet was the same, it was very frustrating. I tried to reintroduce chicken last week because I didn't want to eat steak anymore, and then my skin broke out. That was last week. So diet's huge. If you can get rid of grains and dairy and processed foods and eat whole foods, and if you're just a regular person that doesn't have any serious autoimmunity or depression or insomnia, major symptoms, Max Lugavere is a really good guy to follow. He kind of teaches what people should eat like. And I'm kind of torn at the moment whether or not I believe what Max says. I think his nutritional information is very solid for the average healthy person. Or if you're interested, I'd go more animal-based where you're primarily eating meat, but then you have these other non-processed foods to eat. That can really help your skin. And then I'll talk about all the other things soon. Ooh, what are your thoughts on Blueprint from Brian Johnson? Okay, so you guys probably have heard of Brian Johnson, but he's this tech